Anyways, Austin, appreciate you being here, man. I'm really excited to talk to you today. I think the work you do is freaking awesome, and I'm really excited to have everyone kind of see what you do and everything. So I was hoping maybe we could just start there and talk about that Trojan statue that you built for the 10th group out in Colorado.
So I'm a bronze sculpture artist, so I make, tabletop sculptures to over life size, monuments. And I would say 3 years ago or so, the I created another war memorial, and it's going to be or it was for the war dogs for Colorado, so a state monument. And there we had a public speaker, and one of the top guys from the 10th Special Forces group was the speaker. And then he came up to me and he wanted to get my information after he saw, my sculpture of those dogs. They wanted to do something for their, what we call in the fire department. I used to be a firefighter, so line of duty,
Mm-hmm.
comes to my mind is line of duty death, but it's, when these guys die overseas. And I can't remember the exact number. It was pretty high, like 50 or 60, if not plus, from the 10 Special Forces group. And we'll probably have to Google that to make sure. But he wanted to do something. A few of his close friends passed away.
Mm-hmm.
And he also runs a nonprofit called the Special Forces Foundation, where they go out and help a lot of these guys, go through PTSD, or after they get out of the war, or if they're injured, or also if the husband passes away, then they actually take the family in and everything as part of the family, so they're constantly watched over and stuff. So that's a little bit of the background on that. But the Trojan Horse, he calls me up about 6 months later or so, and they wanted to do something for the guys, and he said, well, we'd like to do a Trojan Horse because that's their insignia. And so we were kind of going back and forth and on the height of it and all this other stuff, and they wanted to do something that was like 10 or 8 feet tall and everything. I said, why not 10? Because it's 10th group. And they're like, yeah, let's go do it. Yeah. And so worked out the details on that, and then as we were going through the process, we really wanted to make it special for a lot of the families and the guys that are currently in and the guys that are retired. And so my creative mind just started going, and he was so open about a lot of the different details that they wanted to kind of like capture into the sculpture. And one of those details was bringing the current members of the 10 Special Forces group, brand new members and past members, up to the studio. And so a lot of these monuments I sculpted here. As you can see, this dog right here is clay. So I started out in clay that never dries, and I can put all the detail into it. So what I wanted to do is have a piece of work out there that these men and women can actually come up here and actually put their energy into something. I know that they're not artists, I can kind of fix stuff if I needed to, but that was a really big day. So we had about 25 to 30 people from top brass down, and there's a small documentary on this. So when we were in here, there's a couple cool times that come to my mind, and one was how smart the 10 Special Forces groups guys are, and how adaptive they are. So I just explained very within about a minute how to sculpt something or how to measure for it, and they went off. They didn't even talk, and there's rivets around the shield of this, and one rivet, if you look at one of the photos, down on its left side, you could see this scrape of one rivet, and that rivet is going to be the first.
Austin, let me see if I can bring up your website. I think it'll help. Maybe not for the people on audio, But let me see if I can bring up your website, and then you could show some of this stuff because I think
Sure.
I think it'd be really worthwhile. Got
Yep,
it.
there it is. Yeah, so that's me standing next to it for the people that are actually watching this on YouTube. But this horse is 10 feet tall. I'm just going to describe. I'm standing in the front of it. I'm 6 foot on a good day. And so you're just bringing up, yeah. So if you right there, you brought up one photo of the front of the chest, and there's an insignia on the front side. And that's in Latin, and it says "Free the oppressed."
Mm-hmm.
And on the photo itself, okay, you see that rivet that's gone. So what we did these are all handmade rivets that we actually pushed into the clay. And what we did is that first rivet that's broken, as you can see, as it's gone through battle, that's the first soldier that was, killed. That's how that's going to be signified as that. And so what we did in the studio, we actually broke it, and the other part of the rivet is actually inside the horse, which I will tell you a little bit more details on that too. And when the guys were up here, it was pretty funny. So like we were all standing around, and one of the top brass guys wanted to kind of beat up the shield and everything with the other guys to kind of show that the pain through war and what they kind of went through and all that energy going into the sculpture itself. And I gave this guy a little tiny sledgehammer. And so he's going back, he's going to swing for the fences on it. And all I hear is I'm like saying, no, 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 no. And he just goes right through the shield and everything. So easily fixed. He was pretty embarrassed by it, but I thought it was the funniest thing. But all those marks and everything on the shield, if you guys actually look up my website here, that's all done by the Special Forces guys. And I don't know if you
these nicks, all this stuff. Okay,
mm-hmm.
so that was all the
yeah. So
group doing that.
Yep, like knives to one guy had a tire iron from his car, okay. So he beat it up with all that. Right. And if you scroll, see if you can. I don't know if I put any other photos of this on here.
The crane here. It says overall height 14 feet. So
yeah, 14 feet from the base.
Oh, I see.
Of it. Yeah. Yep. And so it's
how long did it take you? Like, so we could talk about the process and stuff, but like, how long did it take to make this?
I think the whole process was about a year long.
A year. Holy moly.
And so every single measurement on this has a significance. So the feet are 10 feet wide. Okay. The wheels that are on this, so Trojan Horse is, rolled into somewhere. So there's wheels on this, and I have to bring up the actual spec, but it's like 19.3 something or 57. I think it's 19.57. That's when the 10th Special Forces Group was founded. The actual base under the horse, that's bronze still, is 10 inches deep. I'll have to bring it up.
No, you're good, man. Like, so you go through, you get this job to do this. First of all, we could even take a step back, like how did you get into doing this type of work? Like, where did this come from?
Yeah. So, in school, I hated school. I would ditch class to go to art class. So, art was always easy to me. And it was something that I always was drawn to. So, literally drawn to. So, I always drew. If we would fly in a plane, I'd be drawing people across the aisle, a lot of landscapes or people. And then when I was about 14 years old, went to Prescott, Arizona, where my grandparents used to live. And the guy, we went to a local bronze foundry there, and the guy gave me a piece of clay, and he said, "Bring this back next year to see what you have." And so I got a fork and a knife, and I started my first sculpture. It was a firefighter kneeling down for 9/11. So you have the Twin Towers on one side and the fallen Twin Towers on the other. with the American flag draped over him. And this is all by thought. It wasn't by like a photo that I saw or anything, but I always wanted to be a firefighter. So at 14, that's how I started really in the fire department. I started around 16 years old for student firefighter program in Loveland, Colorado. And so at 14, that's when I did that sculpture, brought it back to him when I was 15. He liked my work ethic. From there, then he bronzed 3 of them, one for me, one for my grandparents, and one for himself. After that, then I lived with my grandparents over the summer and learned the process of how they take an artist creation from clay and turn it into bronze. And from that point, then I became of age in a senior year in high school, so a few years later, quite a few years later. And I was automatically enrolled into this 3D art class that not a whole lot of students across the nation were in. I think there was like 1,300 or so. And then from that, we had to do 20 art pieces. So 12 mixed media, concentration. So the concentration was the fire department because I was obsessed with it. So it was all firefighters like climbing on roofs, cutting holes in the roof, to pulling off hose lines, all this other stuff. And then mixed media, so I did snow, stone, wood, bronze, clay, abstract stuff to realism. Sent it off to New York City, and then I got the highest score you can get, was 5 out of 5. And from that point, then I got my first commission. I graduated high school, and 3 weeks later, the Windsor Fire Department, which is the next town over from Loveland here in Colorado, called me up and they said, "Hey, we saw you in the paper. We want to do a sculpture." And I was thinking something that's desktop size, 18 inches tall or so. And he said, "No, we want to do life size." So I didn't know how to start a business, so I started my business. There's a few other artists in town, kind of got an idea a little bit, but not really. They weren't giving a lot of information to me. And so I just winged it, really. And I signed the contract, made a contract up, started my business, and created that first sculpture. And then I went through Fire Academy at the same time. So at 19 years old, I installed my first monument, which usually an artist will go dabble in art, go to art college, get the ideas from art college, right? And then say, this is art. They then sell it to the gallery. Then they get ripped off by the gallery of 40 to 50%, even for a bronze artist. So after someone pays, let's say, $10,000 for a piece of artwork that's bronze, they get 5, I get 5, but I still have to pay my bronze out of that. So it's kind of, everyone's making money off the artist.
So is it safe to say that, like, from an early age, have you always wanted to focus on first responders and military? Have you ever thought about doing like other things? I mean, I've been on your website. It's mostly firefighters, police, military. Man, it is really awesome. I definitely recommend people check it out. Weishel.com. I'll put all the links in the description. But just look at some of the work you do. It's so intricate and detailed, and it's just real talent. I'll tell you, I don't understand art. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me, because I don't understand how a banana with duct tape on it is worth $6.5 million, right?
I don't know either.
And I look at the stuff that you do, I'm like, this is real. Like, this has meaning to people. Like the 10th Special Forces group, that Trojan Horse out there, and I want to continue with that story because I think it's so compelling. There's a lot of meaning to that horse, and having the fallen, the Gold Star families involved in that process is, I mean, it makes it a real thing. It has real meaning. It's not a banana with some duct tape on it. Like, has this always been your focus? Have you ever thought about straying from that?
I tend to, right. And as I'm getting bigger, so I just sculpted Betty White, because I met her a few times, back in the day.
Hold on. We got to talk about that. Tell me about Betty White. I want to hear all about Betty White.
Well, when I met her, so I met her when, she was super popular.
Yeah.
And, so So I met her, 3, 4 times out in LA at an event for dogs and everything. And she's a big animal advocate. So when I walked up to her, she was just like your little grandma, like she's my favorite. And the world didn't matter. You mattered. And that was the coolest thing about her.
Wow.
So, when she passed and everything, an organization reached out to me. They really cared for her, and they wanted to do something really special. And so that is the Betty White's sculpture right next to her. She's sitting on a bench. It's not dedicated yet, but that's the dog that's sitting next to her on the bench. So we wanted to do something that she shows like her caring for animals and everything and her inspiration. So it'll be installed at this organization's kind of like animal retreat, I guess.
Okay, where is that? Where will that be at?
It's in Florida. I can't remember.
Florida?
It's above Hope Sound, I believe.
Hope Sound, okay. All right, I don't have any idea where that is.
It's north of Jupiter, I should say that.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. Probably up in the Panhandle or something.
Yeah. No.
No.
I was still on the Fort Lauderdale, Miami side.
Oh, okay. All right. That's interesting. So you go from first responders and military to Betty White. I mean, that seems about as diametrically opposed as you can get.
Yep.
As you can get. Maybe not. I'm sure Betty White has saved a few lives, at least animal lives. It sounds like.
Yeah.
So okay. So what do you like about doing this type of work? Like it seems very. Do you get in like a flow where you're like super into it, or do you go through ruts where you're like, man, I don't want to do this anymore? It seems so detailed and intricate that I would think that it's tough. It's super challenging. And what's that flow state like?
I love what I do, as in I'm able to capture people's, like, let's say, legacies or a moment in time, and when I'm sculpting, I embody that, and I put that into the clay. I put that into the bronze. I would say the flow state is somewhat up and down, but it's like towards the end, I would say the last 5% is the hardest. The reason is because I'm a perfectionist, and that's also an excuse, right? But when it's so detailed and it's so special to my clients that I want it perfect, and art is usually not perfect. Versus like 3D scanning or something like that. That's so quotations perfect. But even when you see 3D scanned art in some way or sculpture, it doesn't really look right because it doesn't have this candid valley of imperfections. So how do you make it so you don't over perfect it, and then also make it look like it's not, your quality? So it's a dancing effect. And what I've noticed is that I know when it's done. And either I run out of time to an extent, because it forces me to actually get that last 5%. But to answer your question, it's like the last 10% is always the hardest, 5-10%.
I'm looking at your website right now. Which one has been your favorite project? Like the most impactful project to you?
And I would say probably hands down the 10 Special Forces group.
Okay.
I always go back to that one.
Trojan Horse.
Yeah, the Trojan Horse. The reason is because, they're all equal. But if you really, gun to my head, it would probably be, that one, because that one was, I was able to involve so many people into it. And so
Hmm.
that is from even Gold Star families. They actually came up, 3 sets of families came up and actually put their fingerprints in the sculpture. So, um, and on one side of the neck, though, too, they actually put their fathers that passed away, his fingerprint. So they had a necklace of it, and they put his fingerprint in there too. And so
Wow.
that, having other people being able to touch these sculptures, though, too, that I create and everything, that's something else. You know.
Yeah. So that one, um, that makes a lot of sense to me because you just have it's not necessarily it's a beautiful piece of art, don't get me wrong, it's beautifully done, but having the community impact, I think that's cool, man. That's freaking amazing. I love that.
Yeah.
What a cool thing. Hey,
Yeah.
I'm looking at your website, and you got some other things on here that I think are just super cool. I was hoping maybe you could give me the rundown on some of these as well. Like you have this one of well, there's a couple of them that I want to ask you about. One is, let me see if I can find it. It's a uh, police officer, and here it is. He's like kneeling with a flag. It's called the Fallen Shield.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
This one right
Oh
here.
yeah. Yeah.
So if you're on audio, you can go to austinweishel.com. I'll put the link in the description so you don't have to worry about the spelling. But what we're showing is one of Austin's statues. It's a police officer who's kneeling, and he's got the American flag in his left hand, and I can't tell what is he doing with his right hand there. It's kind of hard to tell.
Yeah. So
Where was this at?
that's in Modesto, California.
Okay.
So in the middle of California.
Oh, I see. Look, go down to the pictures. Oh, wow. This is okay. So this is part of this Modesto Police Fallen Officer Memorial.
Yeah, so what you see is a life-size police officer kneeling down,
Mm-hmm.
bracing a flag in front of a wall, and on that wall, though, too, there's a thin blue line that's actually LED, so it will light up. And this is right on the road, in the main street, so it's very visible. And what's beautiful about a lot of these monuments is that even if they're like in a very public area, they withstand, all the elements and people being knuckleheads to them too, like
Right, graffiti and whatnot.
that. Yeah, so they're very resilient, which is great. This one was tagged and it was cleaned off the next day, so very happy with that. But what you see is a police officer, like I said, kneeling down, and he's embracing that flag, but the other hand, his right hand, is holding a badge. So he's
there. It is.
Yep. And I really wanted to focus on with this one is how powerful that badge is, and all the detail in his hand to the veins in his wrist and everything, though, too. So I really wanted to make sure that all that detail is there. Really wanted to make sure that that powerful statement is there, and the detail actually backs up that statement as well.
So is the idea that he's holding the badge of the fallen officer, and then the flag is, so the badge is in his right hand and the flag is in his left hand.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. All right. That's awesome.
There's a few other renditions of that sculpture. So that's one is life size. The other one is 25% over life size. So if the officer was standing, you'd be 7.5 feet tall. And when you have a kneeling police officer, that's larger than life size for a memorial, just more impactful. And there's another one that's in Jacksonville, Florida, and he's kneeling down. He does not. I don't think he has a flag in his arm, but
is it this one? Remembrance.
I can't see your screen.
Sorry, it's should be sharing it right now. You see?
No.
Oh no, this is in North Dakota.
Yeah, so that one has an American flag that's 25% larger, and he's laying down a rose as well.
Yeah. No, this is awesome, man. This is awesome. So So there's the police one, and then there's this one you have here with the firefighters. I thought this one was freaking neat. So did you do, okay, so it's this one. It's the Nevada State Firefighter Memorial bronze firefighter statue. Did you do all of these pieces?
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So I'll
All
tell
right.
you a little bit about this one.
Please.
So
Holy,
this one,
holy smokes.
yeah,
This
this
is,
one was really interesting. So this is in Carson City, state capital in Carson City in Nevada.
uh-huh.
And these are 5 life-size firefighters. So you have 2 firefighters dragging a down firefighter out, and you have a nozzleman, which is just a regular firefighter, and then you have a lieutenant with the red cap, helmet, and he is pointing with an axe, showing them to safety. So this
Wow.
one was really cool.
Dude, how did you make that?
So
I don't like this is blowing my mind, man. Like
yeah,
I just don't I have no artistic ability, okay? I'm the kid that couldn't stay in between the lines with the crayons. Okay, so here's him pointing the axe. Holy like this is amazing, man.
thanks.
This is freaking beautiful. This is art. I don't know what the banana is, but this is art.
Yeah.
For real. Okay, so tell me more about it.
So this one, every single figure was sculpted at a different time. So when they finally met up in bronze, that was the first time that the 2 firefighters were together with the down firefighter. If that makes sense. So I didn't sculpt it
Yeah.
at the time. And so to make everything the same was a challenge as well. And they needed it at a certain time, so really put my back against a wall to get it done. So I think in total, this monument weighs close to 2,500 pounds, 3,000 pounds of bronze.
Wow. What how much does that much bronze cost? Like how much is bronze? Is it cheap? Is it expensive? Like
Well, okay, so if you Google bronze price, bronze is
uh-huh.
mainly has some other material that's in it. It's a higher quality of metal than brass. So uh, bronze does vary in cost, right? So it's between, I don't know what it is right now, probably like $3 to $6 a pound, whatever it is. Um, the cost then goes into me sculpting it. Then after that, after I start sculpt it, every sculpture is then cut up in different sections. So a life-size firefighter, his head would be cut off, arms, chest, legs, feet, hands, tools, sometimes a helmet. So you have all those parts, right? And
Mm-hmm.
mold them all. So I have a mold maker that makes a mold of
Okay.
every single part. Then from that mold, then it goes to the bronze foundry. From the bronze foundry, they pour wax in that mold. It's called a lost wax casting process. It's been around for 2,000 plus years, right? And so they put wax in there about 3/16 inch thick-ish, right? And so because it's all hand done and everything. Then they take this, let's say arm, right? It's an arm that they did. And now it's hollow. It's a hollow wax arm. They flip it upside down. They put it in a vat of sand. They build up the layer about
Mm-hmm.
12 to 18 times, depending on the size of the sculpture. That slurry mix and that sand goes on the inside of that hand and the outside, so it encases it. Then what you do is then you put it in an autoclave, which is a big oven. You melt it all out, and then you flip it upside down again, and that's where you pour the bronzes in that void where that wax once was. So from that, which is one of the coolest things, because they pour this bronze at 2,000 degrees, roughly, right? Depending
Right.
on the humidity and all this other stuff, it could be like 1,800, right? But I just say 2,000 for a blanket statement. So from that, they heat it up in a big vat, right? And the pouring of, let's say, they'll pour half the firefighter, so all these parts and sand cats, half of them. They will pour that in about a minute and a half. And you could see it kind of moving on top of these like cups because you have to over pour it, right? Because
Right.
it shrinks. Metal expands when it's heated, right? So it'll kind of shrink down, but it's moving, and all of a sudden it just turns white and then solid. So it's It's freaking cool. And so
How long does it take, like once you pour it, for it to turn like that?
it's turn probably about 30 seconds to a minute tops.
Oh, really?
It'll be solid.
Oh, wow.
So it cools very rapidly.
Yeah.
So then they take the sand that's still kind of hot, right? The sand cast has a bronze in it after they let it cool for about 15 or so minutes. Then they take it out, they spray it down a little bit with a little bit of water, and then they start knocking the shell out. So by them pouring bronze, once it's kind of cool to be handled, is about 2 hours later, they're busting this thing out. They're cutting out all these gates, so rivers. And to be more specific, so when the hands are poured, the furthest point is going to cool faster. So they put these rivers to each finger, right? So the bronze will go there first and then start filling it up. So they'll cut off all these rivers and everything. Then they metal chase it, so they weld it all back together, like the water. And then after that, then they metal chase it, so they take down the weld. They put the textures that I put in the sculpture, and you will not see this stuff once it's done. So these are artists, though, too, on the metal side. So you have about, from me to the end of bronzing, is about between 25 and 30 people that will actually touch this.
Wow.
And then coloring is a really cool process called patina. And so what patina is that you put liver of sulfur, and I have a video of this on my website, it goes through process, right? And they put sulfur on the sculpture. They sandblast it, take all the oils out, then they put sulfur on it, and it's like clear, and then it turns black and green and different kind of colors, and you keep on spraying, it just turns black. That's a good base. From there, then they rub it down and everything with Scotch-Brite pads and water to neutralize it, the reaction. So it's almost like, when animals will pee on copper or anything like that, it will turn green, or Statue of Liberty, it's all green. It's a natural kind of oxidation in a way. So that's what we're kind of doing. We're enhancing it. And then from that, then we can color it. The craziest color I've done is on the Guadalupe sculpture. I have many different versions of that one. That's like 10 feet tall to 6 foot tall in relief too. And that one, you could have the bronze shine through. So you could shine this bronze, and bronze is mainly copper, but it has like this gold look to it, as a rich gold. And so what I do is I go in and polish all those spots of gold. Yeah, yes. So if you pull up the photo, what you see here is Guadalupe. She has a green kind of like dress, I should say, around, and then you have a border around that dress, and that's all shined up bronze. And then on her actual dress itself, you see where your mouse is right there.
Yeah.
What I did after we patinaed it, I went in and hand etched all those designs in there to make those designs pop.
So you did all this by hand?
Yeah. If you want to get really tripped out, you should check out my other sculpture with Ben Franklin. That thing is sweet.
Oh, I saw that. I wanted to ask you about that. All right, I'm gonna find it. I'm gonna find Ben Franklin on here. Is it in this big portfolio? Oh,
yes, right there. Yeah. Right. Yep.
I actually had that on my list as like things to talk about.
Yeah, so this one was a cool project too. So
this is cool, man.
I feel like I'm talking a lot about this, but
no, man, this is
so so from his glasses, those are bronze though too, but I really wanted to kind of capture this like stoic kind of look, but also holding that document with people. And so if you go to that document right there on one of the photos.
Yep, right here, I got it. It's coming.
So what we
did
on
audio, all I'm going to say is you gotta go to YouTube and subscribe and join the membership community and watch, because there's too much detail here for us to talk through on the audio. Yeah. So you're just going to have to go on YouTube and watch it. Sorry, man. Go on. So, okay. So you have this Benjamin Franklin. Here's we all see what the document is. Right. Declaration of Independence.
That's right. And so what we did on that one, it's a small file right there.
It's okay. I blew it up. so you can see
So what
it.
we did is we took sheet bronze, just a big paper bronze that's a little bit thicker than 3/16, and then I traced it and hand etched that whole thing.
Wait, so you wrote the Declaration of Independence in bronze? Is that safe to say?
Oh yeah, yep.
And it looks, I mean, you know, it's hard to say, but from this perspective, I mean, it looks
It's pretty close. It's
it
not that.
looks like it. Yeah, I mean, I have it actually right up behind me. I don't know if you can, where am I at? Where am I on the video? Right there. It's
Nice.
actually the same thing. Um, I'm looking at the beginning, We the People. Yeah, I mean, that looks pretty good, man. And I imagine this was a little bit harder.
Yeah,
Writing
my
on
hand
paper.
cramped up a few times, but it worked.
So who was this statue for? Like, what was it for?
It was for a credit union that is in Pennsylvania.
Credit union.
Yeah, that's right.
Was it like a Benjamin Franklin credit union, or was it just whatever?
I think that, yeah, I think so. They had some kind of tie to it. Yeah. Yeah.
That's crazy,
think
man.
state-
It's so cool though. Like even the little fluffy necklace and everything.
Yeah, well, I don't even know what you call that.
I don't know. Somebody.
It's on his
some nerd-
vest and everything. That's that puffy thing. Guys kind of wore.
Maybe we should bring those back, man. What do you think? Would you rock one of those?
be class. Maybe class. Next event, we're gonna sign up for that.
Yeah. There we go. Oh, that's cool, man. That's freaking neat.
You know, one thing I wanted to touch on with the Trojan Horse that I didn't get to is
Yeah.
one special thing about that is the belly of it. I made a skeleton key, so it's like a very old school key, and I had a locking mechanism there. And so in
Mhm.
a little trap door, the belly will open up, and there's rails in there. And so each fallen soldier will have their own cask in there that's stainless steel. So the family will be able to put in any of their like notes to their dad, or a piece of beret.
Wow. Really? Well, I'm gonna share the
Have that special.
video. I don't know if it'll have. I don't think it'll have the audio, but this is from your YouTube.
Yeah.
Do you have it on here where you show the different? Wow, this is like the making of it here. Wow, this is so cool, man.
Yeah, that's here in the studio here. Just traveling with it.
You said okay, so this is like. Oh, we're waiting on the internet to load there,
Yeah,
but
that's Gary right there. So that's the main SF guy that contracted me for the project. Super cool dude.
so these kids
Mm-hmm.
are Gold Star families right
Yeah.
here.
Yes. Yeah,
Wow.
they were able to. It was so funny. So one of the Gold Star families,
Oh,
the little
that's
girls right
amazing.
there, they were my favorite, and
Wow.
you could see that they. She's like, "I'm sorry if they're like messing it up." I'm like, "No, it's fine. They're putting clay on it, right?" And
Right.
so each kid had their own little personality, and it was like very. There was one that had a perfect box of clay, and then the other one had a little bit more texture, and the last one just had a bunch of knife cuts in it. So different personalities for those kids for sure.
And this is the family right here. Of one of
Yeah,
the-
that's,
wow.
that's two of the girls. Of four.
Very neat that they were able to participate in that, and
Yeah,
now that's there forever. Well,
yeah,
until
and their
both-
fingerprints are in there. So, the cool thing about this Trojan Horse is that the new guys that are going to special forces, they understand that and what sacrifice could be, and what sacrifice past soldiers actually did. And Gold Star families had their own actual personal touch into this. So this video right where you pause it, that's where the rivets were.
Yeah. Okay.
And that last piece on the shield, though, too, that's blue, not the shield itself. But
Right.
so Gary was the first one to put clay on this, and he was also the last one to put clay on it. So, and off to the right by that guy's nose, you can see toothpicks, and that's where I marked where the fingerprints are from.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
So there's 3 sets of.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to see from here, but yeah, I see the. where you marked them.
Yeah, so that's Gary putting the last piece of clay. Every single part of this, I wanted them to be a part of it. And I don't know any other sculpture. Not trying to give myself too much credit there, but I don't know of any other sculpture that has other people really touching their art, you know. But I really wanted that these people had a buy-in to it.
I mean, that's such a cool thing too. What you're saying, I think most people can appreciate that because you know I've known a lot of artsy type people, and I can't think of any of them that would allow someone to touch their
Yeah,
stuff,
right.
you know, and then put
Yeah,
their name on it. Like, oh man, it's so cool. I can't understate that. That's awesome. Well, that's going to be there for a long time.
yeah, man.
Do you have any other military ones that you've done?
Yeah. So if you go back, I just installed these life and a half soldiers in New Mexico Military Institute. So these
Oh,
are for the cadets that will go in and out of the school, and also the graduating or graduated cadets. So what this sculpture is a male and a female um, standing across from each other with sabers, so their swords up in the air. So it was like
oh,
weddings or
okay.
special events. You'll
Oh,
have
right here, right here. It's like your first one. Let me see.
yep.
I'll bring it back up to share it.
So they're standing over 9 feet tall with the sabers up in the air, and so these students will be able to, or anybody will be able to walk beneath them as they enter this school.
So this is at the New Mexico Military Institute in Roswell, New Mexico.
Yes,
Okay.
where all the aliens are.
Well, they're gonna have to walk under the swords.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how tall are these ones?
Just over 9 feet. Uh,
9 feet, but they're on pedestals. Okay, so
yeah. So I don't know what the total height of that. It probably is probably 13 feet.
yeah,
Feet.
pretty big.
Yeah. So you can see us standing below it. That's us installing it. Me in the middle, and then the main curator of New Mexico Military Institute and the engineer.
So were you saying there's a story to this a little bit more, or is it just like is there something to the? It's like the entrance to the school. Like, where's this at in relation to the academy? Is this like
So it's technically right in front. It's off
okay?
of Main Street, and I forgot what the cross street is. It's when you enter into the school, driving wise, it's off to your right.
Okay.
And took a tour of that school. Absolutely insane. Their football area and locker rooms are insane. They have a bowling alley there. They got
Pretty good setup.
man, they got it made now. So it's far from like what a military institute, what people would think.
Hey, I wanted to ask you about this other one too. I just saw. Well, I want to ask you about this dog too because it's actually in your background there, but we can maybe go to that one next. But there was another one where you had it was a soldier patrolling with a dog.
Oh yeah, that one. Yep. Yeah. So this one was going to be our nation's next national monument.
No way.
Yep. And so I got awarded that at a special place in Florida that some people might know as Mar-a-Lago. And that I was awarded that in like 2017, 18. But
What do you mean
sadly,
awarded? Like they paid you to do it, or
yeah, so I won it. So another organization wanted it to be installed in
oh, I see.
Washington, D.C. Washington, D.C., I have a monument there, and it is very political to put anything in there. So there's three organizations kind of style on the same sidewalk. So having something of a military memorial with another gun kind of thing was kind of a big pushback. And then location wise and stuff like that, it would be about 10, 15.
Hold on, they gave you pushback because it has a gun.
Yeah. Yeah. From what I've
What?
heard and everything, I was not on the negotiating table on that, but
I mean, that's ridiculous. I mean, this is a beautiful, beautiful piece of art. I mean, you have a soldier carrying, his gear. He's got the dog there,
Yeah,
right? So he's
board as they're on patrol.
canine, maybe like a
Yeah,
right
I
canine.
mean, these dogs, man, they give a lot, and possibly unknowingly, right? Just protect their handlers and stuff, and they love working. They
Right.
love, and so showing that human animal bond in the leash, in the lead that they're together on, whatever the soldier's feeling, the dog feels. Whatever the dog feels, the soldier feels. And they are one. They are one unit. And really showing this as they walk forward and patrolling for their other soldiers behind them,
Hmm.
moving in front of them or beside them. Um, yeah, it's just too bad that we weren't able to put it in DC. So we had to change the whole scope of it to more of a veteran sculpture with a backpack and a canine. So still an amazing piece. It's a big bummer that we couldn't put it in DC. Maybe one day, maybe we were able to, but I would love to see this piece. And this one, and what we see here is clay. And
Right.
it would be bronze, but it's 24 inches tall. So all that detail is that I added in there, hand sculpted, is
So this is like a 2 foot kind of
yeah.
model of what the full thing would look like.
So
Okay.
technically, it's called a maquette, and it's 1/3 life size. So that's 24 inches tall.
Got you. Got you. Okay. I mean, man, I find that crazy. Okay, so what about this one with the
Yeah.
Our
So
Heroes one? I want to talk about this one, but
yeah.
I, man, the fact that they don't want to do it because the soldier is carrying a gun. I mean, what type of like we're what are we doing? Like it's so
Well,
silly.
you know,
If it was a sword and a shield, it's okay, but
yeah,
like we've just moved into this territory where everything offends everybody, and it's just so
yeah.
ridiculous.
Everything has to be stripped down to bare bones.
Yeah. All
Uh,
right. So what about this one? Wow, this is so you have this dog, another soldier, obviously grieving over something, and the dog's there comforting
mhm,
the soldier.
mhm. So this one was my second entry for that same project.
Oh,
I
I
made
see. I
sure
see.
that I blew him across the water and stuff, out of the water. So what you see here is a soldier sitting down, almost like on a curb. His helmet's on the ground, his gun's off to the sides, resting on the curb, and his canine is comforting him with sitting next to him on the curb with their paw and chin right on his right shoulder. And this one is very powerful because it is that human animal bond that when these dogs do feel like we are hurting, they do want to comfort, and they comfort by licking or being close to you or,
Mm-hmm.
bond to you and stuff. So um, this kind of feeling of like, you know, the tragic things that happen in war, it's not,
Mm-hmm.
um, it's very honorable that a lot of these soldiers are able to come back, but some don't. And um, I don't know. There's a lot to speak with this sculpture, and it will speak to everybody a little bit different.
So is this another? So you put this in that contest? Another
Yeah,
again? They turned it down because of the
they
weapon.
didn't want something too sad, which I understand. But
Okay. They didn't want it too sad, and it couldn't have a weapon. Okay. All
yeah,
right.
well, DC said no weapon, so
No
the
weapon.
organization was like, we don't want it too sad. I was like, well, okay, well, maybe we could put both
Maybe
of them in
maybe
there.
maybe you're not the right artist for them. You know
Yeah,
what I'm saying? Maybe they need to go to somebody else.
yeah.
Um, man, this is really neat. Uh, so you're. I want to we talk about that dog that's in your background there.
Sure.
So if you look in at Austin's camera right now, he's got this dog back there, and then he's in his cool studio. um, can you talk about the dog a little bit? And I'll share the screen too, so we can see it up close. You
Yeah,
don't need to go
so
back there, but
this, I think I almost mentioned it before. I'm not sure if I did, but this dog actually sits next to Betty White. Not on
oh,
the bench set with Betty White, but this one. And so it has a vest on of like um, a lot of like service animals and everything. So she was big in, these animals doing heroic things. The organization that I supported and still do support today is called the American Humane Association, and they also are on the Hallmark Channel once a year for the Hero Dog Awards. And so that's also how I got contacted with the LAPD Canine. So I did that for their department, LAPD, the Betty White one, to some other stuff too. So they really took a liking to my art, and I really appreciate that. And I love, returning clients, of course. And yeah, this one is, they wanted something really special or something really detailed.
Did Betty White have this dog? Is this it's like a Labrador, it looks like.
Yeah, it's a lab. So, kind of a sad note, this dog I sculpted a model, and that model is Jerry Means' dog, Riley, and he actually just passed away yesterday.
Wow.
Yeah.
Really?
So this dog met Betty White. He did meet her, which is cool. And so, but Jerry Means is actually the one that contacted or contracted me for the arson dog monument that's in Washington, D.C. So I know kind of how political it could be there.
Right.
So he contracted me, and I sculpted his second dog, an arson dog, and it's named Sadie. So Riley was his first boy dog, kind of a knucklehead, but he's so smart. He's pretty funny. You could put all these treats right on his nose, like almost stack them. You'd not eat them until they said, and you'd flick them up, all of them, and you'd eat all of them in the air. You could also like do the downward dog, and you could balance anything on his back end and stuff. So he was so smart. He was actually going to be a seeing eye dog until I think the story is that he started leading people into the middle of the street. So he got taken out of that program and put in the arson dog program. So firefighter,
Okay, that's super neat. And the detail on the dog's face is like, man, it's, you could see even like the look in the eyes of the dog. You can kind of see into the eyes.
Oh yeah,
that's amazing, man. That's highly detailed.
I just really like, doing what I do. Like, I'm able to capture something for somebody, and being able to like give that to them that maybe like you don't know. You could put some tape on the wall with a banana, but anything beyond that, it's having an artist do something for you is also a pretty cool thing, that you're able to like capture your dream, in that moment, and or honor something. And that's what I have enjoy of, is that I spend hundreds, not thousands of hours on these sculptures. But the best point when is when we unveil it. So that 3-5 seconds of when the sheet rolls off of the sculpture, and you have that gasp, and people like, appreciating it, feeling it and stuff. That's the coolest thing.
Hey, I want to ask you about some of these. So there's a couple of statues I want to talk and ask you about that you didn't do, but that some other people did. But this is going to be in the members only area. So if you sign up for membership on YouTube, you're going to hear all these this fun conversation. But Austin, thank you so much for joining the podcast. Your work is freaking awesome. I hope everybody goes to your site and checks it out. I'll put links in the description, like I mentioned. But if you want to know what Austin thinks about the awful Dwayne Wade statue, you're going to have to sign up for a membership. Appreciate y'all. I'm Nick. This is the NDS show. Join us over in the community tab. Later, y'all.
Thanks, guys.